First, I would invite Thúy, Tranviet to come on the stage and present. Thank you.
I know this is we're supposed to use this as an ice cream cone or as a singing karaoke, like this way. Okay. It's very hard to navigate both. All right, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm very happy to give this introduction on behalf of all my colleagues here. So this is our title that we come up with. This is the Southeast Asian Language Council. And the project is a 5-year project, 2019 to 2024. And through, there are 6 Southeast Asian languages taught here. 5 of us participate in many capacity in these initiatives. The way it goes in this talk today, there are 5 of us. So each one will probably have between 10 and 12 minutes. I will give a brief introduction, maybe it will take 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll come back with a Vietnamese participation and wrap up at the end. But in between, I will invite my colleagues and everybody to invite each other to come up and talk about their participation. So the order as such. And so let's move it along. Okay, so SEALC. And well, it is my pleasure to talk about SEALC, but first of all, I want to acknowledge the, how would I say this? I guess that the founding person of SEALC sitting right here is Professor Abby Cohn. And if you look on this, if you click on SEALC, Wisconsin Steering Committee, she plays a pivotal role of SEALC. But let's talk about SEALC. What is SEALC? Here it is, SEALC. SEALC stands for Southeast Asian Language Council. Now, we all here and we all family, but let's just say there are 11 countries, Southeast Asian countries. And Cornell is such a privilege because we have 6 languages, Southeast Asians are taught here. And will go through that, but SEALC is a national organization. It promotes and coordinates activity in Southeast Asian language teaching. And it's at the time of this writing and also at the time of this on the website, it coordinates with National Resource Center for Southeast Asian Studies and COTSEAL, SEASSI, which is a summer program that is hosted at University of Wisconsin-Madison, and a language-specific organization including Cornell SEAP, SEAP, Southeast Asian Language Program. Okay, one thing about the missions and the goal of SEALC is really important, and I want to highlight them because besides listening them out and you can read them, but they highlight the quality and accessibility of instruction in Southeast Asian languages, and it's a support and coordinate language-related activities, but more importantly, it aims for the support development of next generation of well-trained language teachers. The reason it's important for me, I've been here for 30 years. So as time goes on, we are looking for and hopefully train next generation of instructors in Southeast Asian languages. Okay, with improved curricular resources. Now, how much money? SEALC received a 5-year grant of $1.1 million from Henry Luce Foundation. And in that, what does $1.1 million looks like? And what does it buy? Well, let's tell you what it does. Okay, 2 parts. And I put them together in such a way. It started in 2019, and many of us here participate on together 6 projects and 1 final symposium. Some of us participate as many as 5 or 2 or 3 or even 1. But what do we do with it? The colleagues will tell you what they've learned and gained from it. But the first, you can see that Act for Oral Proficiency Interview and Workshop and oral proficiency guideline. I put in a location and then the dates starting from 2019 to ending 2024 and 2025, and the Southeast Asian languages is involved and participants. So I don't think I have time to read through that, but these will be available for you. And I just want to point out, right after 2019, we have COVID 2020. So the second and third projects are actually virtual. And then the reading proficiency assessments coming back in 2022. Some of it's in person and some is in hybrid. Every time they have a project, they always have a symposium at the end where we get together and show and tell. We get together, present our projects with a group of people. And the symposium, that's why I'm saying right here, number 5, number 6, is a symposium of the projects, reading materials and development workshop. And well, I just want to, well, you can ask Abby later, but I was just thinking during the dormant time of COVID, a lot of things happen in virtual. So, and the 5th project is a big project because it's also happened in Asia. So we have an Asia-based participant. We also have US-based participants. And those are the numbers and the languages that the colleagues are teaching and involved in that. And those are the dates. And the symposium at UCLA is a hybrid. The listening assessment workshop and symposium, again, this is actually a big project. It's involved the pre-workshop, workshop 1, and then workshop 2 that has 2 sites, US-based, which is in person, Asia-based, this time is virtual, and again, symposium at Chicago. And those are the numbers and the languages involved. And finally, and I think I was the only person attending this, is the one that just happened very recently, meaning a few months ago in September 2025. So this is the ending of the project. And it was held in University of Hawaii at Manoa. And this is like what I want to highlight: insights and lessons learned, even though the name is really long, but many of us get together and showcase what we have learned and what we've developed through the times that we participate with SEALC. With that, I think that my next speaker is my colleague from the Indonesian program. So I would like to invite Jolanda up, and she present to you what she has participated in. Thank you very much. I'll be back.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Thúy, for the introduction of the first phase of SEALC projects that many of Southeast Asian language programs participated. So in the first slides, as you can see, a list of universities. So there were 8 US universities, 4 in Indonesia, and 1 each in Singapore and Japan that participated in the 6 projects of the first phase. Support for this first phase, Thúy already kind of mentioned, came also from 4 NRC recipients for Southeast Asia regions: Cornell, Northern Illinois University, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and UW-Madison. I'm just talking about the Indonesian team, okay? And is this, okay, yes. In the second slide, these are the participants in the Indonesian team. There are 24 of us, ranging from teaching assistants, junior, and senior faculty in the US and Singapore, and temporary, contract, and permanent language instructors in Indonesia and Japan. Okay. And the third slide, it's about the OPG project, Oral Proficiency Guidelines project. Actually, officially, it ended in 2020, but as the leader, your work is kind of, continued for half a year after that. So I put it here to 2019 through 2021. But what nice, it was a very rigorous project. But since the majority of us, even though only 7 of us, we had been involved together in material developments for Indonesian textbooks and OPIs projects since late 1990s. So well before SEALC started. So for this workshop, OPG workshop, we used 2012 actual OPI guidelines as the principle for each team conducting oral proficiency in order to gather learner speech samples. This gave us the basis to determine one's oral proficiency in a 15 up to 30-minute interview. Each interview was evaluated 3 times by different groups for sample rateability based on actual principles. From each rateable sample, there are 4 factors to consider: function and global task, then content and context, accuracy and comprehensibility, and text types. The OPG from ACTFL only provides guidelines, as the name suggests. Thus, there is a lot of generic terminology that needs to be instantiated with examples in our language. Throughout the project, there were cases where the guidelines were biased towards English language aspects in determining what constitute elements for each skill level. The actual guidelines can't cover unique features of our language that are not seen in English. I will use samples of the mid-sub-level of skills: novice mid, intermediate mid, advanced mid, and superior to explain the cases. Let's look at the novice level case. While our rateable samples support 2 characteristics of ACTFL OPI's elements, that is content and context, accuracy and comprehensibility, a novice mid-level student can do better than the OPI's description with 2 elements: function and global task, and task types. Indonesian, as a language, does not have tenses, but an adverb of time can fill the role of tenses. The correct use of simple adverbs of time, such as dulu, in the past, and sekarang, now, communicates a simple sentence that is already meaningful within common settings. Next one, as for the intermediate level, the other elements are supported except for the content and context element. In the content and context, while the rateable samples support the OPI's idea of predictability and familiarity of topics, the samples, like the one shown here, indicate the learner's ignorance or unawareness of the specificity of nouns explained. For example, the absence of klitiknya in the word gedung, meaning a building or construction. Next, for advanced level rateable samples, we found that the data are in close agreement with 3 OPI elements: function and global task, content and context, and text type. However, considering the accuracy and comprehensibility element, it needs to be acknowledged that although it is not difficult to understand the learner's oral paragraphs, the language aspect errors made suggest attempts at formality by using half-correct affixations. Such errors are not apparent with less educated native speakers who have the same advanced mid-level speaking skill. For the superior, it was very difficult to find a rateable sample for superior level. Sometimes it is like at advanced high samples, we thought it was superior, and then several groups say no, it is still in advanced level. So we really have to look for the superior speakers. But the ones that we have, a couple of rateable samples, challenge the guidelines, accuracy, and comprehensibility in terms of error-free basic structures. From this perspective of the standard Indonesian register, superior speakers of Indonesian can still have patterns of errors. For example, with the inclusive and exclusive we, the plural first person. Yet within the extended discourse, the use of different we may actually indicate a good grasp of one's linguistic awareness of standard Indonesian versus original language usage. The following slides are about the listening assessment project carried out in 2024. So there were 14 instructors from 6 universities involved in the project. National University of Singapore, Cornell, UW-Madison, Harvard, Catholic Parahyangan in West Java, and State University of Malang in East Java. Our team was divided into 5 groups. We learned to compose listening assessments for intermediate and advanced levels. The components of the assessments are first instructions, then task developments, which create 3 tasks for each assessment, then task rubrics, finally task scoring. The instructions for both levels were actually just given to us from our instructors from the University of Chicago. The only thing that we contributed was the length of the assessment after we tried it among ourselves. So we decided that for intermediate assessment was 50 minutes and the advanced was 60 minutes. Our team produced 2 sets of listening assessment for each level. One set of listening assessments for intermediate level created 3 different tasks: a summary table, short answer questions, and recall protocol. Meanwhile, one set of advanced level has a summary table, similar kind, open-ended questions, and summary protocol test task. Then we provided the material transcriptions. It took a lot of time to find suitable listening materials that meet the assessment conditions. I think some of my colleagues are going to explain about the process. After that, we needed to develop a task that uses the material realistically for listening purposes. I think this is very important. We learned that the kind of task was highly dependent on the information presented in the material. And trust me, not only time, but also frustration or major element for each step. We thought the test development was pretty tough, but that was before we started developing the rubric and assigning scores for answers. To be honest, this was the most unsatisfying work of the project. Perhaps there should be another workshop, especially about this step. Anyway, I chose to show the summary table rubric and scoring for intermediate level. This is what it looks like. And this one is the summary table for the advanced for comparison. There are 120 points, but a tester only needs to obtain 100 points to earn an A grade. Okay, and so as all the collaborative projects, there are benefits for our community of practice. Yeah, like so we shared knowledge and materials, both for teaching, learning, and testing. We honed knowledge and understanding of the skills. We solve problems, of course, with self-control, because everybody has different personalities, and humility concerning seniority and other factors. And then we did develop networking opportunities, and we nurtured a sense of belonging and professional connections. So, terima kasih. Thank you. And now it's our colleague, Hannah Phan, is going to present her project in Khmer language.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. And thanks, Thúy and Shamin, for introducing us. Yeah. So now I'm going to talk about the two of the workshops that I participated in. Yeah. So the workshop that Chinese Humphrey, the professor who teaches Khmer at the University of Hawaii, and I participated in were reading material development workshop in 2023, PBLL, oral proficiency guideline workshop. And then before the 5 years, still the last cycle, we completed the 2015-2017 content-based language material development project. I'm going back. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the achievements and the two workshops. So what we have done. The SEALC Oral Proficiency Guideline workshop refreshed our minds. Before the SEALC workshop, we participated in the ACFO OPI workshop and became certified OPI tester in the Khmer language. Even though we are familiar with the oral proficiency guidelines, we benefited from the workshop. The SEALC OPG gave us a comprehensive knowledge of how to improvise and produce standardized oral proficiency guidelines in the Khmer language. We hope that with further support, we can apply the general OPG to standardize the Khmer language, OPG, and use it for our classes at various institutions in the US and abroad. So we have more work to do, yeah. Chani, the professor who teaches Khmer at the University of Hawaii, and I worked together. There were other Khmer language instructors in the US, about almost like 8 or almost 10 of them, but I didn't know what happened to them. And then we, Professor Chani and I kind of have been very active in this kind of thing, and we want to have a up-to-date skill. So achievements. Improving understanding of methodological approach, material development, and assessment of language teaching and acquisition. For example, we focus on designing lessons, doing the reading material development workshop. From pre-reading to post-reading extension, we created exercises, including questions for students to answer, statements, vocabulary, and grammar exercises, and presentation. The workshops emphasize developing practical functional language use. That's what we need for students, and real-world skills. The lesson helps students to use the language effectively in various situations, develop their real-world skills, expand their vocabulary, and communicate easily with native and near-native speakers in the Cambodian communities in the US and hopefully in Cambodia. With more practice alongside native and non-native speakers, students can achieve proficiency in Khmer. We should remain open and flexible to making necessary changes. We should take a creative approach to teaching Khmer. That's what Chani and I agree on this point. We completed the training, gained more experience, and apply it to our teaching. We share our knowledge with the Khmer language team and other instructors. So the two workshops that we participated in among those 5, the reading material development workshop, the good thing, we use authentic intermediate reading material about a guest house or like a wild farm in the environment that is very popular now, that people like to go and then stay in that kind of guest houses. So students will learn about the guest house and how the guest house owner and staff do to protect the environment and provide support to the local communities. So there's a link. It's from the Phnom Penh Post, the online news article, genre about news announcement, environmental protection, and it's from 2023. And then the level is intermediate high. The figures on the right, you see all those tasks, pre-reading, reading tasks, and post-reading tasks. So we designed the projects and lots of tasks. And by the end of when the student finish all the tasks, they will be able to reach the goal. They can communicate and learn the vocabulary. Yeah. This is authentic advanced reading material. There's a link as well, and about UNICEF launches situation analysis of child rights in Cambodia in 2023. The lesson focuses on children's rights in Cambodia. It also includes a variety of activities such as the pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading activities. One example of a doing reading activity, it's a skim for topics, look for global information. The assignment are given in Khmer, but these are in English, so for you folks to understand. So to strike out, please look at the following sentences and strike out topics, one sentence that do not appear in the text. One example is done for you. So number 4, Cambodian children have enough rights. So that one is strike out. Okay, PBLL workshop introduce the principle and practices of project-based learning to strengthen the development of instructional materials that can be incorporated into the curricula of Southeast Asian language classes. The Khmer team worked on the project. The theme was pre-departure information for college students and professionals. We look at the real-world problem that is being addressed through this project. And then at that time is a COVID, so we create a pamphlet that has information on how to prevent themselves from COVID before going to Cambodia. An example of a brochure, there's pictures and also the sentences that are related to them. Yeah. Assessment, I didn't put much assessment. We will go to do next workshop about assessment, and then there will be more information. So for this, we talk about peer assessment, and then the rubric to measure product completion. Look at the comprehension, lexical text type, and then teacher created a rubric. Look at the formal vocabulary and structure. There should be some points to the right. I would say 2 points. Informal vocabulary, 2, incomplete sentences, maybe 3 points, and main ideas, 3 points. Yeah. So as a single person program, it is important that we need to work together to develop teaching materials. We also share the materials with each other. And we have written some materials that can be used in class, and then also apply the approach that we learned from SEALC and to use in our classes. This is Watnat Sok, who did the online interactive theme-based open textbook. Chani did the grammar, and I am going to work to finish this. It's done, it's in progress, but it have to be published. It's a bilingual illustrated book on the environment protection, education, and social issues in Cambodia. It's about environment protection, like there are some animals from the Mekong that's very rare. And then on the right, you see the photo of me reading the manuscript with the Cornell in Cambodia group in Cambodia, and they all like the manuscript. And then they even give me the title. So I'm showing you this because of hopefully we can use this as a material, and then with the SEALC methodology, we can have students read and then also to reach their goals. Okay, this is it. Yeah. So next will be the Burmese reading proficiency assessment teacher and learner perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah. So today I will be presenting the assessment development done by the Burmese group. The work looked at both the teachers and learners' perspectives of the assessment. So I fully participated in all aspects of this project. Okay, meet the team. Beautiful people. Yeah. Okay, so before I dive into the project, I would like to give you a little background of Burmese about Burmese teaching at universities level. In America, less than 5 universities regularly offer Burmese language classes. Only a couple of them teach at all levels. So usually the classes are very small. For students, most beginning level students are curious learners. They often take the Burmese language classes because they think it's exotic, right? And some of them take it just to fulfill their language requirements. And intermediate and advanced level classes usually attract graduate level students who are interested in conducting their research. So heritage learners are still few, but the number is gradually increasing. For instructors, we face some challenges. Previously, we had little formal trainings in teaching pedagogy. There aren't any shared assessments because we often worked in isolation. We still have limited access to teaching materials. We tend to develop tests based on specific course content. So why during the SEALC training, we learn and discuss how to assess learners' reading proficiency independently of the course content and curriculum. After the training, we worked together to develop 6 proficiency-based assessments, 3 at intermediate level and 3 at advanced level. So this is the table of the intermediate level reading assessments. As you can see, the topics are varies. Some may or may not be may be familiar or may not be familiar to the students. But they are interesting, meaningful for the students, and focus on culture. The text type also encourage students to think critically and help identify main ideas and improve their organizing skills. So this is a sample test. The task asks students to share about the Alibaba online shopping sales. And the right is the rubric. Our rubric focuses on realistic details. Okay, so why we were developing these assessments, we ran into challenges that we did not expect before. First, it was a very much iterative process. It wasn't, just a matter of picking up a text and moving on. First, we have to work together to choose the right text. And from there, we make decision regarding the text adaptation. And so we had to go back to revise the text even while we were writing the questions and the rubric. Even after finishing, creating the whole assessment, if we were not happy, then we began the selection process again. So it was a kind of a constant cycle of refining. So during that time, as you can see in the picture, we have plenty of debates. There were days that we were not agree on. However, we focus on giving each other helpful feedback. It was also a very much time-consuming process. But in the end, we realized that reaching an agreement is the most important part of the process. This is also something the trainers want us to achieve by working together. So the work did not stop there. After that, we wanted to explore the effectiveness of these tests by focusing on learners' perspectives. We wanted to know how do Burmese learners feel about these assessments? What concern do they have? Do they really like this new approach? If we listen to their view, then we can make fair and accurate evaluation that reflects learner real progress. So first, my colleague, Sia Kenneth, and I gave a few lectures to familiarize students the test format. So as I have mentioned earlier that we have very small classes, right? So when we began the research, we recruited current students and previous students. But the all students were a little bit of reluctant to participate because they felt like they had not kept in touch with the language. Because of that nature, we decided to do a kind of qualitative approach rather than quantitative one. So when we were during that time, my team, except for me, develop an open assessment Burmese textbook. So during the lecture, they use some lesson from that book. And then the tests were conducted via Zoom and in person. So one of my colleagues, Momo, interviewed the students. After analyzing all the interview scripts, this is what we found. But I'm not going to list all these points, but the main important thing that we learned is the students view these tests were much more effective than traditional teacher-developed tests. The test type were less overwhelming for the students, so they could perform better. Responding in English also helps students to worry less. So one of the challenges that students face was a test type called recall protocol, which involves removing the text after reading. So students got confused and frustrated, especially when they did not listen or read the instruction carefully. So these are the quotes from the students. So what did we learn from there? The proficiency-based assessment measure real language ability, but their accuracy completely depend on clear instruction, accessible content, and the students' familiarization of the test format. Okay, so after the training, I've been using this model in my regular lessons, quizzes, and tests. The feedback from the students has been very positive. So these test types are challenging for them, but they like the activities and make them less nervous. These are the couple of examples that I use in my courses. Okay, thank you. So now I welcome Tess. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Okay. You bet.
Okay. Hello. So let me just adjust my glasses here. The Filipino group participated in all the SEALC projects in the first cycle, all right? But the focus of my presentation today will be on proficiency assessment projects that I was able to participate in. Prior to the founding of SEALC in 2017, way back in 2010, a few of my colleagues and I acknowledged the need for an assessment tool for Filipino to inform curriculum design. While it would have been convenient and tempting to apply to Filipino the already existing actual generic guidelines based on the well-developed testing procedures for English, some language experts are in agreement that less commonly taught languages like Filipino and other languages overall have unique language-specific attributes which are not sufficiently addressed by the actual generic guidelines. Examples of this in Filipino are sociocultural factors such as the required expression of politeness, content appropriateness, Filipino English code switching, which is prevalent among highly educated Filipino native speakers, especially in the urban areas, just to mention a few. Furthermore, the morphological structure of Filipino is very complex, which my students find challenging, but I try to make it fun for them. It's also very different from English. Developing the OPGs for Filipino must therefore take into account what specific degree of accuracy unique to the language should be expected at various levels of proficiency. The different socioeconomic, sociocultural attributes of the language and its unique and complex grammatical structures, among other factors, only highlight the need and justification to develop OPGs that would address all these specific properties of Filipino. The opportunity to do a Filipino OPG project came when the Center for Southeast Asian Studies at the University of Wisconsin in Madison informed us through Bu Ellen Rafferty and Erlyn Bernard about the availability of funds for developing language-specific oral proficiency guidelines for Southeast Asian languages. The project leaders were expected to facilitate the workshops and collection of samples, manage the collected data, and coordinate the formulation of the guidelines based on the data collected. There were 13 participants in that project, 8 from NRC institutions and 5 from non-NRC institutions. The output of the preliminary draft of the Filipino OPG was submitted to SEAS, to Madison in 2013. And again, at the COTSEAL panel at AAS conference in 2013, and the Filipino Roundtable at SEAP COTSEAL conference, which was hosted here at Cornell, which actually was the year that SEALC was founded, right? Feedback were taken from fellow Filipino instructors who attended that conference. And some of these were the need to collect additional language samples for levels, sub-levels with insufficient data, modify interview protocol to include a wider range of topics, and the lack of actual OPI training for some of the participants that caused a significant percentage of non-ratability of the samples. Also, they mentioned the need to disseminate the Filipino OPG to other instructors of Filipino and train them in using it. Realizing the crucial need for it, I trained for and received the actual ILR tester rater certification in 2013. This involves periodical renorming process. It's a lot of work, but maintaining this official affiliation with actual LTI has been crucial to my work as a Filipino instructor and my work with PAPLAC, the Organization of Filipino Instructors, and with SEALC. Now, then came the opportunities to participate in the first cycle of SEALC projects and conference. The first one is the SEALC Filipino OPG project in 2019 to 2020. There were 6 participants in that project. And the issues encountered in OPG 1 were addressed promptly during the OPG project 2. The SEALC required participants with no OPI training to attend actual workshop provided at the beginning of the project. 3 of the 6 participants were actual ILR certified testers, so that was a plus. And then these 2 in combination resulted in higher relatability of the sample. So that was really, really good. The output from this project, the draft of the Filipino OPG, which was, updated with the additional data, was submitted to SEALC in 2020, and reports were presented at the SEALC virtual OPG meeting in December 2020 and the COTSEAL 37th virtual conference in July 2021. The next project that we participated on, and I did personally participated in, was the listening assessment workshops and symposium from January to May 2024. There were 12 participants in this project from our group. 9 were US-based and 3 from the Philippines. So the good thing is there was more participation from the younger instructors and the online participation of instructors from the Philippines. These are both welcome and much needed development in the project. This is not really I was not able to participate in the reading assessment, although it's one of what I should have targeted because of COVID-19 related reasons. So, but the last one I'd like to mention, if you would indulge me, is the SEALC conference at Cornell held in September of 2024, just because this was when the Consortium for the Advancement of Philippine Languages and Cultures was founded. So it was really a good development for the Filipino teachers because we had the Consortium for the Advancement of Filipino before for decades, which was led by the late Dr. Teresita Ramos. But it was kept as an informal organization because, well, you know how it is. We language instructors have only 24 hours and we're all busy. So it was hard to commit to a formal organization. But finally, we were able to do it in 2024. So the first executive board laid down the foundational structures, and these are the bylaws, the communication and visibility matters, website, social media, and newsletter. And then we also were able to start engagement and programming activities. So last year we held 2 online forums, one on AI in language teaching and learning. And then the second one was on interinstitutional collaboration. That was also good. And I'm happy also to report that we just elected the second set of e-board last December. And the good thing is these are younger people. Yes. And another good thing is we have now one board member based in the Philippines. So that means we can expand the work with the Filipino instructors back home, right? So I'm happy to report that and confident that the future of Filipino instruction in the US and maybe elsewhere too will be in good hands for the coming years. Just for final point, so I have signed up for the next SEALC project, which is slated for April and May. And I'm happy about this because this will complete the assessment section of, of the series of projects that SEALC will be run and will be running. For CAPLAC, I have suggested research development for priority projects. And I suggested reviewing developed curricula for Filipino pedagogy with existing assessment tools as reference points after we finish the writing assessment project. And then this one too. Create a structure for dissemination of available Filipino pedagogical resources, especially to junior and new faculty, like the FLPAs with no mentors. This we encountered this academic year. So, and also teachers in. So now I'm gonna give back the podium for Thúy.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, good. Back to this ice cream. Okay. All right. It's good to go last, I think, because the thing is when I put it, everybody sent me slides, I put it together. So I decided to not repeat certain things that my colleagues have done. But I think there are things I want to point out, which is important because sometimes people don't even know what is SEALC, and people don't know how many languages are taught in the United States. And in terms of languages, and we are less commonly taught languages, Southeast Asian languages. Okay, when I say that, because through the charts I mentioned earlier, that we see a lot of participants from these bigger four, Filipino, Indonesian, Thai, and Vietnamese. And I represent these, the population too. Vietnam has about 100 million people, third after the Philippines and Indonesia, and Thai is actually fourth, but still not less commonly spoken, but less commonly taught in the United States. And the one I want to point out is smaller, but no less important, Burmese and Khmer. And then some of the things you might see earlier, their language taught is Lao and Hmong in terms of materials development. For me, it's really important to develop not only like my field, my language, but also others, and especially the smaller ones. Okay, let's talk about Vietnamese a second. All right, so I was president of WAVA. WAVA was established quite some time ago, in 1993. But I just stepped down because one reason I want to give younger folks a role in WAVA. So it sounds like a fruit, but it's a group of University for Advancement of Vietnamese in America. That's WAVA. But I highlighted here very briefly. Right now there's 25 universities or institutions in the United States that have Vietnamese instruction in some form. That is to say, sometimes like at Cornell, it's all 4 levels. And I put the year there. The year I came here is 1995. Prior to that, there are 2 colleagues, but there are linguists from Hanoi, and they was here for an exchange program 3 years apart, part-time, and this is a thawing out. Well, I digress, but this is before the normalization of between Vietnam and U.S. relation at the end of the war. So I came in and took pretty much restart the whole program here. But along that, I think before me, there were Vietnamese taught elsewhere, especially I came from Michigan. There was Vietnamese at Michigan. So just to say that, and the reason I also put in bold in italics, even we have 25 as the last count, I think, in the United States, but those are usually the institution that regularly participate in SEALC projects. So myself, and next slide, I will talk about myself at Cornell Vietnamese participation. That's different than these group participation, because through and through, we participate in all of them. I mean, they're very ambitious group of people, let me tell you. So myself, I participate all 3 out of 6. So I call Project 1, Project 5, and Project 6. Right? Project 1, my colleagues already talked about them, but I will talk briefly Project 1 because I was a team leader. I didn't have the photos here, but I remember vividly, and I looked it up. There's 18 members, 3 from Vietnam. We collected 32 OPI samples, and my colleagues already talked about ratable, so I will skip through that, and 10 level produced, and 10 actual levels, 3 of each, novice, intermediate, and advanced, and 1 superior to make 10. Okay, and I participate in a Project 5 and a Project 6 and the final symposium that I presented. But I want to focus, and given my short time here, because I don't want to take a lot of time, I already spoke earlier, is really on Project 5, what I did with it at Cornell. To me, that's really important, and what you gain from it. So what I gain from it is the word I really like is because of this is a reading project. You have a pre-reading, you have a during reading, and you have a post-reading. And one thing is like you put the text to work. That is to say a post-reading, how do you do that? And I was very lucky that I have a group of students. This is a class I actually taught last year, spring 2025. And the Project 5 ended in 2023. So, and in 25. So this is basically, these students was really advanced. So it's the Viet 3302, but they basically advanced mid kind of folks, advanced low, advanced mid. So put the text to work is you produce, one of the assignments is infographic, and this has happened, the topic we were talking about, like scams and things like that, but we want to, the assignments is like a midterm project assignments to talk, well, different topics. We've read through many articles and videos, but in the end is these is produced by the students. Is I just want to put just 2 samples of the infographics, and 1 internet scams, all in Vietnamese, of course, but here just say like, how do you recognize internet scams? Well, I think the students probably use Canva for them, but it's not about their skills of design a poster. It's really their language skill. What does it get out of that? And what do scamming financial, scamming emotional, and then, scamming, buying stuff online, but you can read the word online. And how do you recognize that? And then, how do you recognize it in terms of people can scam people by recruiting. So that's a businessman suit in terms of through a form of government employees. And then it's just like, fake news, fake links and things like that. And then these steps of how you prevent from scam. And that's all in Vietnamese. Here is, when we're talking about women, a chapter or a topic on women and gender equality, but it goes into domestic violence. And one of the, the assignment was creating infographic. And this student decided to create an infographic on, the topic I've translated in English is this: when a loved one is a victim of domestic violence, but, how do you protect them? How do you support them? This is just like how to awareness and prevention. And this is, listen to them, you believe in them, you respect their decision, and you want to find out more about the situation, and you stay with them, and you keep in touch. So basically that. So that is the infographic, and this to me is a show and tell. It's really a post-reading show and tell, and I just I presented at the symposium, and inspired from the reading workshop, which is Project 5. And the Cornell class last spring, and why infographic works and why did they work? Because it's developed critical thinking. They analyze, synthesize key ideas from readings, and they apply knowledge and in context by creating a visual storytelling product. Of course, at the end of the day, we wanted to improve language skill. Yes, they do, but it's different perspective. They're highlighting, simplifying, and visualizing key concepts. So in some way, it's beyond the traditional test. So they demonstrate comprehension, synthesis, and visual literacy. And then also, because you're doing this, you also encourage creativity, engagement. You design a product that is creative, it's fun, it's colorful, and useful. And then it's also raise awareness and elevate public education. I must say that I was very lucky because when you teach advanced, you basically teach topic that beyond your realm, beyond of your family, beyond what course you take, that is beginning, right? And then intermediate is we start moving away from that. So these are the topics, and these are sort of called my show and tell. And I think that the outcome, if I may, in generally of all the workshops, since I'm the last one to close this, the general takeaway, why do we attend these workshops? Why do they happen at all? And why they matter for language materials development workshops? So we have to ask ourselves, we are, and we will be participants. And what do we do there? What do we gain? And who do we connect with? And these are the 4 I think of, because when we go to these workshops, we also learn from the experts. And as you all know, we have these experts, Kathy Bowman from University of Chicago. There are many names I can't think of, but I thank them. And then we also learn from each other. And we also, in terms of a lot of people saying that there's very little formal training in Southeast Asian languages. So we also examine our traditional methods, you know, and then we share classroom strategies. But when we do the instruction design, material development, like, you know, the slide that you mentioned, there's, you know, material selection, adaptation. But, you know, we know that we have a hands-on practice, even we like it or we revise or what would we do. But at the end of the day, professional growth, some of us will come back, and young ones, in increasing teaching confidence, and then it's sustainable professional growth at the end of the day. But sometimes some of my colleagues say, well, let's go. Do you want to go? Do you want to apply? Because it's fun, because there is community, because we can learn from each other. And it is there people do socialize. So that is professional socialization. So, and I think that because of last SEALC, which just granted, I wasn't sure to say, I think it's $1.5 million of a phase 2. And it's just like year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4, I leave it there instead of reading them all. The reason I want to point it out about the small languages is that they have asynchronous language course development for Lao and Burmese. I wish they have a Khmer. And I think they carry through pretty much 4 years. So I hope that maybe you can join. And and I think that somewhere, hopefully they have for Khmer. Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you. This was, yes. All right, thank you. Yes, all of it. Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to sit there, but open for questions for everybody. Right? Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much to the 5 of you for all the work that you have been doing, that you continue to do. This is really wonderful to see what you can do when you work together. And as you all have mentioned, it's difficult to be in the position of a less commonly taught languages instructor, where you are a one-person program and you have to do everything yourself. But I think the power of collaboration is so evident in all of your projects, and to not only look within your own institution, but to look outward as well. And I think that applies to the more commonly taught languages equally. So we are happy to take questions. If anyone on Zoom has any questions, please type them into chat. Colin, I know you must have a question. Not to put you on the spot or anything. And you can think about it too. I don't know, maybe Mona has a question, maybe Abby has a comment.
A comment. I mean, I think that Thúy, when you were kind of saying like the the larger, less commonly taught languages, I mean, those 4 are still in the 20s, considering when we look across the nation in terms of how commonly taught a language is. I mean, the one definition is really just, it gets you just the first couple handfuls, but the MLA definition is the top 15. None of these languages are in the top 15, right? And we're talking, the big languages are taught at a handful of programs when you look at multi-level instruction and not just adjuncts. And so if you compare that to, Spanish or French, where you have thousands of instructors who can be contributing to that, where just a few people take that whole responsibility, you still need all of those things. You need the materials at every level. You need the testing at every level. You need the training at every level. But I think the power is when it's just down to 6 of you, you can actually sometimes create things that are so much more effective than thousands of people because it's not on the shoulder of any one person. Whereas like you guys know, if you don't do it, it's not going to be done. And so it is very powerful to see what can be accomplished. And for me, having been involved in the inception of the project, it's so wonderful to see not just the tangible results, but the less tangible results in terms of the community, in terms of the growth that has people have gone through. So kudos to all of you in terms of your work.
And this is actually an interesting comment. This reminds me, you of the one photo or the one image that you had with you all, like maybe arguing, not fighting, arguing. It's certainly a little bit easier to come to a consensus with 6 people than it is with 1,006 people. So there is advantage to being a smaller language community for sure. Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing anything on Zoom land so far. Yeah, Mona, absolutely.
So I really like the idea of infographics. I gave them a lot of reading that, has infographics in them. But the great idea here is that they create the infographics themselves. I guess my question would be, what comes after they submit their infographics? Like, for example, you gave clear instructions, they did the infographics, and what happens afterwards? Do they discuss it together? Do they share them? Ah, okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay, it's a classroom assignment. So this is a midterm project. So basically, having read and couple chapters is, I think, the chapter 3 or something on women and gender equality. So that came out of that infographic. But there's another one on traffic, right? Traffic and safety, because Vietnam is crazy, and then they have that infographic. But today I only show 2. So this one, the internet is scams, but these days everybody will somehow, I help me out with this word, somehow not get involved with scam or somehow receive messages of scams. Yeah. But this is in Vietnamese. All right. So what happens? Because that day, people actually, students and myself, they presented that day and they basically defend why they want to put in there, what language. But through it all, for me, it's sort of a meditative process. Because when you say, well, that's all in Vietnamese, so I want to the topic, what she was saying up there was like this type of scam, how to recognize and how to prevent. So really awareness and prevention. And then, I'm just saying these little pictures, they probably got it from Canva, but never mind. This is not about design, but the design is theirs.
Oh, Colin, here we go.
Thank you all very much. I was really excited to see the open access textbook that you referenced, I think, you. And I know you're also That's right. Yeah, that the group is working on. Oh, okay.
These folks, all young, except me now. Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you're all thinking about that sort of free distribution of these language learning resources where, you're all housed at these institutions and you're working on your own syllabi versus, anyone who wants to learn anywhere can access. I know you're also working on a web audio lab for speaking and listening, but I think you have to have certain credentials to be able to access that, maybe.
Well, and you have to have an account because it's a very much interactive process that the students need to record their speech, right? Like speaking skill. Whereas the open access book doesn't have any interactive skill. Yeah, so that's the only difference. Anyone can use my world courses too, as long as they have the guest account. They have to create an account. So that's the only different thing. So before that, we were kind of my group was talking about these the OER book. So they are going to distribute right now, like you know. So I'm gonna give this access to my you know, the AI Institute from Myanmar. So I'm like kind of a teacher's trainer. So I could give them, you know, distribute them. So they are also going to distribute everywhere because it's completely free. It's also for the teachers who wants to teach Burmese. They have also guideline for both teachers and students. So it's pretty cool.
Hi, yeah, Colin, for Khmer, I'll show very briefly the open access for the Khmer program that the instructor that is based in the UK is doing, he's finished, completed, and it's for the beginning level. And then young people really, really like it. And they have like dialogues and conversation, asking questions, and they, and it's free, yeah. Young people really, really, really like it, yeah. Yeah.
Because, sorry, oh, should I use this? Okay, I'm sorry. I do have a comment on open access in terms of, and also in generally materials development and these workshops. They're great. However, I think that, for example, we're talking about how, you know, we work in isolation, so we need to get together and produce something. But in terms in case of Vietnamese, as you can see, that's right now there are 25 institutions that offer Vietnamese, and a lot of them are state school. And in some of the privileged ones, for example, Cornell was small enrollment, Columbia is small, and I do exchange. By the way, the current Guava president, and I stepped down, and she's from Columbia. She teaches at Columbia. So basically, these languages, I mean, Vietnamese, at these institutions are smaller. They have different kind of students body. They have a different kind of. They approach the language learning slightly differently than when you have at UC Berkeley when there's like 100 students, or at UCLA or UC San Diego. I don't know if they listen, but they only teach two days a week. And that is just like, I mean, here at this university, you teach 4 times a week. It's right here. The student, if they forget the homework, they walk, they bring it in the Rockefeller Hall. There, you don't see them. So it's different types of even homework, assignments, and expectation designs. Even this is some collaboration and still needs some adaptation. So even that, so I think that it's still having to a level that mass produced at every, and including open access. Because open access, I look at some, I have to say it, I have to find out what suits for my students almost every year, every semester. Even they are Cornell students. So I have to say, filter through. It's not that particular lesson would work every semester when you talk about intermediate and advanced level. In beginning level, first year, they basically first year skills. But after that, you really tailor them. And so that is also remain a question in terms of adaptation, you know, language material development, but, you know, selections and material selection adaptation is still a process for an instructor to do. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for sharing your work. Thank you for all the work that you are doing. Thank you to everybody else for attending our event today. And we look forward to seeing you at our March event, if not before then. So stay warm, keep it up, and enjoy February break.